I stole your wealthy husband. The first call from my younger sister, Lois, came just before our mother's funeral. She hadn't replied to any of my messages for weeks. I just got back from Hawaii with Keith. I brought you some chocolate souvenirs. Furious at her insensitivity, I lost my temper and yelled at her in front of everyone. You can keep my husband. Just get to the funeral already. Lois, stunned by my outburst, could only manage a confused "what?" from the other end of the line. I gave her the address of the funeral home and hung up, seething. Knowing she'd try to call back, I turned off my phone, took my seat in the family section, and tried to compose myself. My name is Emily, and I just turned 38. Growing up in a family of 4, my parents, my younger sister, and myself, I often felt the weight of being the eldest. My sister Lois, who is 6 years younger, was always the favorite. With her charming looks, she had a knack for getting her way. Whenever Lois wanted something, she would flash an irresistible smile and say, "Emily, I want this," and I would almost always give in. Unfortunately, this dynamic didn't change as we grew older, making Lois an extremely troublesome sister. 8 years ago, our father passed away after a long illness. 6 months ago, our mother was diagnosed with a terminal illness and had been in and out of the hospital since. 2 years ago, I married Keith, a senior colleague from work, and moved into an apartment near my office. Despite the distance, I spent the last 6 months commuting an hour each way to care for my ailing mother while managing my job. Lois had returned home and left her job a year ago following a breakup with her then boyfriend. Despite this, she continuously deferred caregiving duties to me, claiming I was better suited for it. Eventually, I took a month off work to care for our mother. Despite my efforts, she passed away 2 days ago. And where was Lois during this time? She had left for Hawaii a week earlier. I pleaded with her to stay, but she disregarded my pleas and went ahead with her plans. At the funeral, following the priest's final words, friends and family began to offer their condolences. It was a tribute to my mother's kindness that not only relatives but also many of her friends had gathered to mourn. Several colleagues from my workplace were also present. "I'm sorry for your loss," they offered. "Thank you. I truly appreciate your support in granting me the time to be with my mother during her final days." He's my father-in-law, the company president. Throughout this difficult time, he's shown exceptional understanding and support. But where's Keith? I haven't spotted him around. He's been on a business trip overseas since last week, and I haven't been able to reach him. I understand. I'll inquire with the sales manager about his whereabouts. Due to the size of the company he oversees, Keith and I work in different departments. He's heavily involved in sales and often laments about his demanding schedule filled with frequent business trips. While I tried to be understanding of his absence during this challenging period, I couldn't shake off the anxiety of managing everything alone, especially without being able to reach him or my sister Lois. Meanwhile, my father-in-law made a heartfelt effort to attend the funeral, his presence offering immense support that nearly moved me to tears. Gratitude swelled within me as we rode to the crematory in the limo with the rest of the family. Upon switching my phone back on, I half hoped for a message from Keith. Instead, I was taken aback by the flood of nearly 30 voicemails, most of them from Lois. "Answer your phone. You can't just fabricate absurd lies because you're upset that I'm with Keith now." Her voice echoed through the phone, filled with anger. She took Keith from me. Did she mention something like that during her call before the funeral? I was too overwhelmed with managing the guests to fully grasp what she was implying. Lois and Keith having an affair? It couldn't be true. I felt a surge of shock and agitation. Was Keith really on a trip with her? It seemed unbelievable. Rushing to check the voicemail, I found several messages from my husband. "I'm deeply sorry, but you're a resilient woman. You can handle this on your own, but Lois, I need to stand by her. So let's end things." As I listened to his message, it felt like a scene ripped from a melodramatic script. I wish I hadn't heard that. I muttered to myself. Why did I have to discover that my husband and sister were having an affair and enjoying themselves in Hawaii during our mother's funeral? You need to hurry if you want to bid your final farewell to Mom. We're en route to the crematory. Reluctantly, I dialed my sister's number and relayed the news. "That's not funny. Stop lying. You're just bitter because I took Keith from you." "But it's the truth. I get it. Losing your husband must be tough." "Yeah, he's set to be the next company president and loaded. I empathize with your pain, Emily, but there's a difference between white lies and deceit, you know. You're grown up. You should understand that." I never expected to hear that from you. It was a shock to find out about you and Keith's affair. I could almost hear the satisfaction in Lois's voice. She always enjoyed pulling pranks on me since we were kids, reveling in my gullibility. I let out a frustrated sigh. Regardless, now's not the time for this. If you want to bid Mom farewell, come now. I'm tired of this charade, so why do you need to check with his father? On the other end of the line, their voices overlapped in what seemed like a heated exchange. They probably weren't prepared for me to bring up his father. Eventually, my husband, who appeared to be standing beside Lois, took the phone. Emily, is what Lois said true? If you doubt it, then do as you wish. I'm ending this call. After a while, we pulled up at the crematory. This was my final chance to bid farewell to Mom, but my thoughts were in disarray from the whirlwind of the past few days and the sorrow of losing her. Unsure of what to do next, tears streamed down my cheeks uncontrollably. Witnessing my distress, a relative offered a comforting pat on the back, saying, "Your care for Mom until her last moments surely brings her gratitude, Emily." I stood before my mother's casket, bidding my final farewell. "Mom, thank you for everything. I'll miss you dearly." As her casket began its journey for cremation, a sudden commotion erupted. "Wait, where's Mom?" My sister and husband burst into the room, their voices filled with panic. Lois attempted to reach for the departing casket, but the doors closed abruptly, sealing her off. "No, I haven't said goodbye yet. Please stop." Amidst Lois's anguished cries, Keith stood behind her, visibly stunned. "We should proceed. This is unsettling for everyone." "Why didn't you inform me, Emily? I missed the chance to see Mom at the end." "It's on you." "On me?" "Absolutely. If it was this dire, you should have given me a heads up. But you kept quiet." I've lost count of how many times I briefed Lois about Mom's health. Every time, she'd dismiss it, saying, "I'm clueless about this stuff." "You handle it, Emily." "Exactly. This mess is because you never stress how serious Mom's condition was. It's your fault." Even Keith joined in, pointing fingers at me. I glared at them, seething. "And what exactly were you both doing during all this time?" My voice rose. Startled, they fell silent at last. "If you won't say it, I will. You two were off enjoying a romantic getaway in Hawaii, weren't you?" The murmurs among the relatives grew louder as they watched in disbelief. Whenever they inquired about Lois or Keith, I'd come up with excuses to shield them from judgment. "Mom, forgive me. I wish to bid you farewell in peace." Mentally apologizing to her, I braced myself to address the truth. "When did this affair even begin? You knew I was on leave, looking after Mom, right? It was a difficult time for me. I reached out for help countless times, but all you two did was have a good time together. Isn't that right?" "Enough. It's your fault, Emily. You didn't keep Keith close enough." "What's that supposed to mean?" "You need to prioritize your husband more. He complained about being bored at home because all you talk about is work and caregiving." Poor Keith. "Oh, so that's what he said," I retorted, shooting a glare at Keith. He quickly averted his eyes, avoiding mine. "Emily, you snagged a wealthy future company president, but you got complacent. That's why he was swayed by me. You always do this, Emily." In truth, every time I had a boyfriend in high school or university, Lois managed to steal them away from me. The only exception was Keith, as Lois was already in a relationship at the time. What a shame. From now on, I'll be with Keith and become the wife of the future president, so end things with him. "Fine, take Keith. I'll file for divorce." At that point, I was beyond caring. When I decided to marry Keith, I had no clue about his family background. He was initially working at a regional branch before transferring to headquarters in my department. Keith was charismatic, sociable, and effortlessly won everyone over, quickly becoming an integral part of the team. As we grew closer, I developed feelings for him, and when he proposed, I joyfully accepted. It wasn't until I visited his parents' home that I discovered his father was the president of the company where I worked. It came as a genuine surprise. "So promise me, don't come back later begging to avoid a divorce." "I won't." "You're certain about leaving me?" "Yes, I am." "If you leave, no man will marry a workaholic like you. You understand that, don't you?" "I'll live my life on my own terms. But for today, please bid Mom a proper farewell." Keith and Lois exchanged smug glances as if they had triumphed. Relatives frowned, observing the tension. "I apologize for the unpleasantness," I said, regretting the scene. As I apologized to my relatives, I heard Lois whisper, "Always the goody two-shoes. I can't stand it." I've tolerated so much because she's my younger sister, but I'll no longer see her that way. I'm divorcing Keith, and I'm alone in this world now. All I have to do is brace myself for that reality. I clenched my jaw tightly. 2 weeks have elapsed since then. I've packed up my belongings from the apartment and settled into a new condo near the office. I've even listed my parents' house for sale. There's nothing tying me to the past anymore. As I moved out, Lois moved in with Keith. Our divorce papers have been finalized and filed. I'm sure they're happily starting their married life together now. Well, I've finished sorting through Mom's paperwork. Now it's time for payback. Watch over me, Mom, I said with a smile, gazing at her portrait, envisioning the events to unfold. Enjoy your honeymoon phase while it lasts. You too. The following day, while I was at the office for my job reinstatement, my phone buzzed with a flurry of voicemail notifications. Hey, what's the deal? We're divorced, right? Why am I being slapped with a $30,000 bill? Concerned it might show up uninvited, I suggested meeting at a nearby diner. As soon as we began conversing, Keith erupted in a fit of rage, his voice booming with fury. I received a legal document from a lawyer. What's this about? We're already divorced, aren't we? Exactly. I'm not sure. I had tasked a lawyer with claiming $40,000 from Keith as my share of the property and $30,000 from Lois for her portion of our mother's medical care expenses. The documents must have been delivered to their address. It's something they should have anticipated, but it seemed they hadn't. I felt exasperated. You just need to settle what you owe. That's unfair. And don't think you can get away with what you've done. I've endured significant emotional distress. Should I sue you for that too? Emotional distress? You cheated, plain and simple, so pony up. They fell silent, likely realizing they couldn't argue with the law. Then, after a pause, Lois turned her gaze on me. So, Emily, it's all about money for you in the end. Fine, let Keith foot the bill. With a loan from my dad, we can easily cover the $70,000. Keith, I know you're not exactly flush. Lois, are you really okay being with a broke guy? Keith will be the president soon. Then he'll have money. Just need a bit of patience. Oh, Lois, you're after the money too, aren't you? No, I've got plenty of love. Dad's been talking about retiring at 65 for ages. So, in 2 years, I'll take over as president. Seriously, that'd be something. Absolutely. I'm the only son, after all. We'll see. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Can you believe this? Is she losing it? My sister's voice chimed in. But the real act of revenge I had planned was only just beginning. Keith, you've been absent from work for quite some time, citing the family funeral as the reason, correct? Well, my mother-in-law is family too. True, but the company is aware of what you've really been up to. Huh? Are you aware that your father attended Mom's funeral? I intentionally withheld this information from Keith and Lois, leading Keith to believe that his father was unaware of the situation. I've informed the company and your father, the president, that you lied about taking family leave for caregiving and instead went to Hawaii with your mistress. Oh, that was you. You never did any caregiving at all. You have the nerve to act so boldly. And you've taken time off work with Lois on several of your business trips, haven't you? I've reported that too. How did you find out? Lois has been posting photos on social media, detailing where and when she went out. There were a few pictures with you in them. Quite shocking. Huh? You knew about my social media? It's the same account you've had since high school. Naturally, I'd be aware. Lois appeared uneasy, and Keith was caught off guard by my revelation. Wait, does Dad really know everything? Just as my mother was family to you, your father regarded her as family too. Naturally, he'd be informed about the family funeral, as protocol dictates it should be reported to the company. Even following the funeral, he showed concern for me and reached out multiple times. Consequently, I relayed all the recent events to him. He's quite furious. Furthermore, he made it clear that he has no intention of appointing you as the next president. But I'm his son. He mentioned he doesn't recall ever stating that our company follows a principle of hereditary succession. Additionally, he instructed me to convey that he has no use for a son who would engage in such disloyal behavior. So Keith isn't going to be the president. As I watched their faces grow pale, I decided to push them further. And to add, I'll be assuming the role of president next month. I've just received the official notification from the president and my superiors at the company. It's official. I've been appointed as the new president. That's impossible. They wouldn't appoint you as president. If you doubt me, why don't you call your father right now and confirm? Keith hurriedly dialed his father while Lois, his new wife, looked on nervously. So, Emily's going to be the president. That's true. So, I won't be the president's wife. If I knew that, I wouldn't have taken you from Emily. But you said you loved me. That was with your money included. What did you say? I couldn't bear the couple starting their argument in front of me, so I stood up. If you want to fight, do it somewhere else. Oh, and I'll be expecting the payment. Thanks. Wait, please don't leave me. Please support me, sis. I evaded their desperate attempts to grab hold of me and swiftly departed. Following that, the couple proceeded with their divorce. My ex-husband, Keith, was demoted by his father and eventually resigned from his position. Now, he works multiple part-time jobs every day to settle his debts to me. As for Lois, rumors have it she's working in a bar at night. Initially, she seemed to be managing, but she fell victim to a deceitful man and found herself in dire circumstances. Meanwhile, I've ascended to the position of president. Admittedly, it's for a small company operating as a subsidiary within the main company building, specializing in the caregiving industry, a venture established based on the proposal I drafted during my caregiving leave. Nonetheless, the caregiving sector is projected to expand in the future, and I'm determined to excel. I'll give it my all moving forward.